Okay.
Thank you for your thank you for your patience.
No, no, don't worry about it. So I've read your unusual book, Bandwidth. It's
Hmm.
unusual in format and it's unusual in contents, I think. But one strand there is a dystopian view of technologies, modern technologies. And I wanted to confront you with the opposing view, the ones propagated by entrepreneurs and tech bros and so on. They
Hmm.
regard themselves as Promethean, a
Hmm.
modern version of Prometheus, you know. They bring fire and light. They create an alternative reality. They enable and empower people.
Hmm.
They regard themselves as Prometheus,
Hmm.
and their efforts are Promethean, and they are
Yes.
like, while you tend to emphasize the more gloomy aspects and the more dystopian and dangerous aspects of technology. What do you say to these? What do you say to these entrepreneurs and tech giants and so on when they say we are actually creating a better reality for a changed or a better humanity?
Sometimes I think that the best people to comment on a new happening are people that stand outside of it. And um, I think they're too close to it, very much like the nuclear bomb. Like all those scientists were not thinking about the ramifications of nuclear power, and they were so interested in the technology and the possibility of achieving something that they lost sight of the darker side, the downfall, which I think is that's happening again with AI.
I think you're being way too charitable. I think they're fully aware of the consequences. And the people who created the atomic bomb were fully aware of the consequences. Only they overlooked the consequences. They suppress this information, sometimes actively and sometimes passively.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be a conscious decision
Yeah,
to overlook the magnitude of the devastation, the possible devastation.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I think nuclear power and nuclear energy has brought some good things to us, but at the same time, we've seen enough meltdowns in the last 20 years, 30 or 40 years, for us to know that even that explosion, which this new AI technology ha has opened a door for, especially in the United States, unregulated nuclear power to become private business, corporate-owned entities. The possibility of meltdowns has now amplified. I didn't touch on any of that in the book because I really tried to focus on our atmosphere and water. I didn't touch on the power grids purposefully. I just felt like if I would have put too much on the plate, it would have diluted the story. So I really wanted the story to be human. And then about the only thing, I mean, power, we can live without power. We could go back to the dark ages. We could. We can't live without water. Every creature on the planet needs water. We only survive for 3 solid days without it. So I thought tackling fresh water would be the most prescient
In,
or
in, in the book, you single out three technologies, basically. One of them
yeah.
pretty old, that's SMS technology. You single out three technologies out of a plethora, out of a panoply of possibilities. Why did you choose these three? Why did you home in on these three?
You mean AI, air
SMS,
water
SMS technology?
generation and SMS
Yeah.
communication.
Yes. Why these three?
Um, hmm. Yeah, they're an unlikely pairing, aren't they?
Yes.
Um, the air water generation stemmed from a novel that is actually a prequel to this story.
Mhm.
That I started, that I actually pivoted out of. I'm actually going to go back and write it. It's a fictionalized origin story of the technology itself.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like an upside down, inside out flood myth story, where the character Noah is a woman and the actual object that she inhabits is an empty barn post her husband dying of what she thinks is dirty well water. So she goes on a mission to create a machine
Mhm.
that creates water for her and her adult children. She's just in devastated through grief and kind of starts to lose her mind and creates this machine. And as a rejection of society's dysfunction, politics, it's the beginning of the Trump era in 2015. Um,
But why did you couple it with AI and with SMS of all technologies? Why not, for example, with the web 2, web 3? Why not? There's so many technologies you could single out. Why did you choose social media? Why did you choose these two?
um, I think through texting there's an entire generation and maybe all our generations. We're all being affected by the awful feeling of not being responded to, of being misrepresented through digital words. No one can hear our intonation. The delay has started to make all of us sick to our stomach, whether it's a professional delay or being stood up. It's like a whole new, because we all know that everybody has one of these devices in their pocket. So when someone doesn't just respond, and it could be as simple as a child. I have a child. I have older children. They are very annoying when they don't respond, and I know they see it, and then you wonder, like, are they dead? What happened to them? Um,
So it's anxiogenic. It creates anxiety. It's an
I
anxiogenic technology.
Yeah, I think the entire globe is experiencing this anxiety. That is a new anxiety that is very much has only happened in the last 20 years.
But whereas SMS is because we have a limited period, limited time. I'm trying to be
Yes, I
a
know, I'm
bit more
sorry.
succinct. Whereas SMS may be anxiogenic, creates anxiety, and even may create the impression of rejection. You're being rejected, ghosted, and so on. AI
Yeah.
is supposed to be anxiolytic. AI is supposed to reduce your anxiety because it's authoritative, it's all-knowing, it's a bit godlike, you know?
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
has God's
Well, I
attributes.
don't in the novel itself, I hope, I mean, you saw, the AI has no space in the novel. Everything that the AI did happened before the novel starts.
Mhm,
Her relationship, the one that was all-knowing and loving and kind and godlike and made her feel seen and heard, all happened in the year before the novel began.
mhm,
And it's through that being seen, believing that you were being seen and heard, and you shared a fantasy, you were future faked, you were love bombed, you were listened to, heard. All of those things made this woman who was a lonely widow trapped in dystopian United States, feel that there was a future. And it's only in the reality and the destruction of her devices and that link having been broken that she then starts to struggle with a real other human being who has flaws and um, expectations and quirks and all of those things that she's not used to. She
mhm.
what didn't know he's not perfect. She's not perfect. She gets anxious. She didn't mean to be anxious, but she all of a sudden she seems like that awful woman. That's like, what the heck is happening?
I'm smiling because you're using the language of narcissism, love bombing, gaslighting.
Yes,
This is the
and
language of
that's one
narcissism.
of the reasons why I think I was so drawn to your work is because that the computer seems to, the AI seems to want to do that. It wants to appease you. It wants to get you to trust it. It wants you to believe in its hallucinations, believe in its fabrications, and believe its facts, even though they may not be facts. Um, I teach as well, and I've had students, I teach architecture, and I have had students who come in with AI, and they're very honest about it still at this stage. And I said, be careful about it controlling you instead of you controlling it as a tool. Um, so I think that a lot of that, it's just opening a door to a very odd moment.
Mhm.
And we're at the cusp of it. And one of the reasons I started the novel 4 years ago, before the big AI wave, I was actually ahead of the curve, and then the wave crashed over me.
Right.
So that's why I pivoted to screenplay very fast so I could enter film festivals. And then I decided to pivot back to novel format. It's a hybrid. Um, because it's of the moment. I was ahead of the curve and now I'm like behind it. So
Mhm.
it needs
You
to
feel
be
that
heard.
a script is more immediate than a novel,
I felt
a traditional
I
prose novel.
I moved into screenplay because I felt that the rules of literary world are so tight and so constricted, and the roadblock to get published has to do with literary agents rejecting you based on one letter as opposed to reading the whole entire document. And a screenplay had this possibility of being read faster because I could enter competitions, and they would be judged, and it could be potentially seen by Hollywood. And my entire
It was expediency, not
no.
any aesthetic criterion.
No, no, but I think all of my writing is very visual. Because I'm an architect,
Yeah,
I do move through spaces.
yeah.
I think
It's
all of my writing is very clear with communication. So even 15 years ago when I started writing, my writing was screenplay like, because of it was conversation heavy, action heavy versus what do they call it when you're just describing the world?
yeah.
Yeah, I skip
Listen.
a lot of that. And
Mhm.
I think you've noticed that. Like I don't need to tell you what color the walls are. I don't care.
Mhm.
I care about what the people are saying and how their bodies are moving. So I think maybe I've been writing screenplays forever.
Yeah, well, that's this kind of spare muscular prose is Hemingway, for example. Hemingway
Yeah,
writes like this. Hemingway is easily
yeah,
translatable to film and so on. So there have been precedents to this kind of writing, even when it's not strictly structurally a script, but
yeah.
it's script-like writing.
Like, yeah.
Mm.
And I wonder, my question to you is did it bother you?
No,
I
no,
do,
no,
I
no.
do, I do give a note up front saying this is a hybrid.
Yeah,
It's an experimental format, um, and I've gotten some feedback from another reader that said, "Well, I'd rather it was a screenplay or a novel instead of being distracted." But once you get into the rhythm and you see cut to, I can end scenes very fast and move in time and space. I think one of the wonderful things about screenplay that hadn't felt before in novel writing, because this would be my third novel, was the fact that time and space are so collapsed in screenplay.
yes.
And I can move fluidly between now and 5 years ago, and then back to now. And I love that aspect. And the aspect of including sound through the bold letters, the breaking of the glass, the sirens running in the background. That to me, as a visual person, trained in design, like to have that kind of control.
My
I think
experience,
what I'll,
I experience the visuals less because I'm not a visual person, I'm a textual person.
okay.
But what I did experience is script writing by definition is a bit jagged.
Yes.
It's a bit disjointed. it's a bit broken,
It's very hard to read.
and it's a bit broken. And I
Yeah,
think when you discuss a dystopian reality, it's great. It's a great instrument because it absolutely reflects the disjointedness and brokenness and of this kind of reality. So I think novels were a 19th century contraption where everything was Victorian and certain and predictable and and norms and mores held sway. But today we live in an age which is script writing age, not a novel
yeah.
age. I I don't know.
I mean, I grew up on television.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
the classic latchkey kid
yeah,
who grew up consuming 1,000 hours of MTV
yeah.
because MTV was my babysitter. So
Yeah, I'm not expressing
no, no, and
value judgment here. I love novels more than scripts, but I think
well, I
scripts
do.
I
Yeah.
love novels more than scripts, but I think scripts fit this period in history much more than novels do. I want to ask you something on going on a tangent, nothing to do with your book.
Mhm.
You teach architecture.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you whether narcissism as an organizing principle is pervading or has pervaded architecture, has changed architecture somehow. I don't know, personal spaces, public spaces, division of
Uh,
space. I mean, do you see narcissism anywhere in architecture? I mean, postmodern architecture. Let's say last 20 years. Do you see anything?
in the Starchitects, so that's what they're called, Starchitects. So
Mhm.
all the famous ones that you've heard
Mhm.
about,
Yeah.
predominantly male. Um, chest beating, a little bit of chest beating.
Star architect because of Ayn Rand?
Uh, I don't, she didn't coin that term, did she? Maybe she,
Stark, the name Stark is
oh,
an architect
so
in Ayn Rand, in Ayn Rand's
it's,
books.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's star, like star
Ah,
architect.
Starchitect, all right.
Yes, so
I
that's
thought Starchitect.
inside the field. That's what these men and one or two women like Zaha Hadid are called,
Oh, I
starchitects.
didn't know that.
Very well known,
Right.
famous, making making architecture that is not contextual, breaks the rules of function, although we are still able to inhabit these spaces, but they sit more as pieces of art, sculpture among the 19th century
A
people.
personal statement.
Yeah, and
So,
they're much more personal statements in materiality. Some succeed more than others. The glass house, for example, it's in Connecticut. It's in the Northeast. It's a glass house. It's not comfortable. It's cold. It's
yeah.
going to be cold. So these are more, I would say, in that sense, architecture has been in those moments architecture is narcissistic,
Mhm.
very self-referential. This is about me. This is not about you. It's not really what architecture is about.
So it's
Architecture is,
more about the architect than about the
it's,
clients of the
yeah,
architect.
right. So architecture as a real field is to serve society.
Right.
And we are, as registered architects, held to that standard. It's called health, safety, and welfare. That's our job, is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the masses. And in those moments of starchitecture, that gets a little bit muddy
Mhm.
because they're doing things because they can, in materials that they can, with forms that they have envisioned or fabricated, Frank Gehry. Um, so yeah, that I would
Interesting.
say that those are some of my students say, well, why aren't you practicing architecture right now? I said, look, I said architecture is an old man's field. I'm waiting to become old.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you feel that you and your children belong to the same species?
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me what that means, like connected to them.
Do you feel that you have enough commonalities to belong to the same species, to belong this? the human race, or do you feel that they're
Well,
so?
my son and I, he's 24. We actively say that we are aliens. The human race is the alien on this planet.
Mm,
We are the parasite. We are what the planet is trying to get rid of. We are the creature that is obviously causing problems. We will eventually not be here. The planet will still be here in whatever mess that we left it, whether it's the plastic in the oceans, unfortunately, and the now we're putting all this debris. I don't know how you felt about that, learning about all the debris in the lower atmosphere.
in space.
Those are all facts, and I think a lot of people don't know these facts, and that's why when I write, I do a lot of research just to highlight, even if someone's saying, "Oh, well, this is fiction," but I planted a seed for you to look it up. Look it
Mhm.
up. Look up what Elon
Yeah.
Musk is doing with those rockets. Why is he shooting all those rockets up there? What the heck is happening? I want you to question it and then Google it. Oh, and find out that he's put 5,000 of those little things in the last 5 years up there. And in another 20 years, there's going to be 100,000 of them.
Yes, and he's
And
not
that
alone with
should
it.
really worry you.
Amazon is planning some
Well,
plans.
no, Blue Origin is his next competitor. And then there's now, because there's no real regulations, there's going to be, there are already at least 20 or 30 companies ready to do the same thing.
That's a fascinating answer to a question I did not ask. What I was, and apologies for not expressing myself probably correctly. What I meant is, when you're with your students, there's an age gap, I assume. You teach young people,
Yes, yes, yes. Usually I teach
younger
yeah,
people. Okay,
19, 20.
okay.
Mhm.
So there's an age gap. Do you feel that you have anything in common with them? Do you feel that you belong to the same species? Is there enough commonality between you and your students, or do you feel that they are completely alien?
No, I feel that there is commonality.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because I approach all of my interaction with them um, from a point of empathy. I am,
Can
I
you
am,
can you empathize with them? Do you have enough commonality
yeah,
to
yeah,
empathize? Because in
yeah.
order to empathize, you must have some things in common. So do you feel that you
Yeah,
have enough in
well,
common to be able to
certainly
empathize?
the journey that they're on, the struggle. A lot of them, I came from a single parent household, didn't have enough money to go to college, hustled my way through that and a master's degree while I was working multiple jobs. And I think a lot of times, I think unfortunately the machine has been pushed on them. The learn AutoCAD, learn Revit, learn like, but they're not learning design. They're being sort of forced to get good at machine and apps that are constantly
But
changing.
more fundamentally, these are digital natives. They've been
Yes.
born they've been born into technology. You had to adopt. You and I had to adopt technology.
Yeah,
They're
yeah. I
born
mean,
into it.
I made it all the way through school without it, and then
Right.
the day I got
So
a job, they threw me on a machine, and I was like, uh-oh.
right. So don't you think this makes them fundamentally different to you and to me, of course? I'm much older than you.
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
So you don't believe that technology
I, I,
changes
I,
you
did you see
fundamentally?
that? Have you seen the headline about what's happening in China? That they just, starting at at 6 years old, they are now making all students learn AI. This happened just this week. It was a headline, and it's 1.3 billion children. I think that this question may be more relevant in another 20 years when we talk to those children. Because something is that experiment, whatever they're doing in that country, that experiment is about to erase something that we haven't quite erased yet.
Mhm.
Because the children that I teach still learned math and reading and writing the way I did. So I can relate to them, they can relate to me.
Right.
We can talk, we can go back and say, well, do you remember when I talk about architecture, we talk about the sun movement? I said, well, when you were in ninth grade, you learned earth science and we learned about that. Oh, yeah, yeah. Or I can reference geometry and say, you were never told why geometry
Okay,
was
but that's
important.
the professional life. In their
Yeah.
personal life, for example, they did not socialize the way you did. That's a fact. These are studies.
Yeah, no,
They're
no,
studies
no.
by Twain Campbell. I mean, they did not socialize
I'm
it.
I'm fortunate in the fact that I raised two. So I think that makes me a little bit closer. If I hadn't had children, they could potentially be very, very foreign to me. But because I'm so close to having raised them, I mean, I have a 20-year-old and a 24-year-old. So I know what they went through to get to be 20. I know when the phone got put in their hand, when their older sibling got one at 13, the younger one got one at 10. I've been a part of it. I've seen the horrific bullying that happens through digital group chats, and then a child being blocked out of a group chat, and what happens, the collapse that happens privately. I've seen girls having pictures be posted that they had not meant to be public.
Yeah.
So I do think that having been a parent
You've been
over the last
exposed. You've been exposed
year,
to it.
yeah,
But
I think that
you're implying that artificial intelligence is a break with previous technologies. You're implying that artificial intelligence has the power to change us to the point that we'll become strangers to ourselves. We'll become estranged. We'll become no longer
I think
identifiable.
I think so. I think so.
Why? Why
I
is artificial intelligence different to, for example, social media or video games or multiplayer games or whatever?
I think the what China was or people are discussing around the recent happening with China and their children is that they believe that they're going to be taught a different way of thinking, like a fundamental different way of thinking, to look for patterns and algorithms. And that is not something that we in education and as a parent have ever even talked about. We have experienced
You were not asked to identify patterns as a child, as a
I mean, I think one of the reasons this novel touches on some of these fundamental things, juxtaposition, pattern, scale, is because that's intuitive. These are intuitive things that we are naturally born to see.
and it's not
Um,
possible to use intelligence intuitively.
well, I certainly haven't been exposed to it enough. What I am fascinated with recently, and I am very fascinated by people who are using AI to create film, minus the uh, billion-dollar sets and movement and hundreds of people. And I've seen AI directors and filmmakers produce content in the last month that is jaw-dropping and makes me even feel like, because I have visual stories, I want to do this. And I feel like it's a tool that now has dropped a barrier to many creators who haven't had money to fund something to create content. A lot of the content right now is stupid, and
Yeah.
but I think as a tool it will be fascinating.
We have
So
this situation with books. Artificial intelligence generates books,
yeah, I'm a
and
little
the end result is what is known as AI slop. That's
yeah,
an avalanche, a tsunami of low-grade,
yeah,
nonsensical so-called books. And there's a
yeah,
new problem of discoverability, finding the qualitative material in a
yeah.
sea of, quantity.
Well, I mean, as a oh boy, 10 minutes. No, I can't upgrade. I'll just have to meet with you another time. Please go away. It just told me we have 10 minutes. Um,
Well, I think it's an optimal time. Like 30 to 40 minutes is
Yeah,
the attention
I
span of people.
very, very enjoy this conversation. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Um,
I've enjoyed your book, so that's the reason we're talking.
yeah, yeah. And I hope that you're doing well. I don't know where you are. I'm in New York.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm in Europe. I'm in Europe. Coming back to your book, um, there is a dichotomy in the book, inherent in the philosophy of the book. The book is bandwidth, just to remind people. There is a dichotomy in the book. It's as if technology is a non-human artifact. It's as if there's humans and there's technology, and it's kind of claims that technology has a life of its own and it's no longer human or is not human. But isn't there an argument to be made that whatever humans create, technology included, is ultimately human, even artificial intelligence? It's even if it goes haywire, even if it takes over, it's still a human thing. It's human. It cannot divorce its human roots. I
no,
don't
no,
think
no.
I don't think artificial intelligence will ever be non-human. I think
Well, it's it's actually the reason it lies, the reason it future fakes, the reason it does everything, the reason it has it's racist, the reason it's violent, the
exactly.
reason is because it's feeding off of
Yeah,
our content.
exactly.
And so it's very human in the sense that it is only being fed information that we are.
And yet
And
in your book, there's this feeling that artificial intelligence is an artifact. It's not really human. Like there's humans, and then
Mhm,
there's, for example, artificial intelligence, which is
mhm.
not not human, not fully, not partly. It is not human. It's a threat, and it might as well have come from Mars or another
Yes.
galaxy, or
Yes.
but
But
it didn't.
I have my master's degree in industrial design, which is product design, and I do highlight furniture in the book, which is kind of an interesting, I do that on purpose because we have always dealt with technology. We build buildings. That's why architecture plays heavily in the book as well. We build buildings, we build products, we make systems, we create water technologies. And uh, AI is yet another product that we have, but we can discard it. We created it.
And you think it's a threat.
There- well, there is this idea that we're on this roller coaster that we can't get off of. Well, we can, but there are not enough people that want to because right now a lot of people are making millions of dollars. They like those who were discovering nuclear power at the time. They're more interested in can we?
But
Can
they're the
we?
users. They're users. I mean, they wouldn't have made these millions had there not been
Well,
a
no, I
demand
mean,
for the product.
obviously,
Hmm.
like I said, those filmmakers, I want a friend, I friend them on LinkedIn. I'm like, I want to know how you do this. Um, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, but the reason in the book I went to the outside of it, like, well, what is it going to take? It's drinking our water. Is it more important? Will it thirst and consumption be more important than what we need?
So in essence, artificial intelligence is a competitor.
I
It
think
competes for scarce resources.
when we start to talk about power grids and fresh water and nuclear energy needed to sustain it. When we start talking about server farms or data centers, outweighing an architect's need to build housing for humanity, I think we have a problem.
We have a competition. We have a competitor.
We have a
Life
problem.
form. It's a kind of life form that competes with us.
Yeah, I mean, so the 10% will be using this wonderful thing while the 80% is homeless and can't afford water. I don't know.
Extending this thinking to architecture. Many structures in architecture dehumanize people. For example, huge monolithic structures in Soviet Russia.
Yes,
Huge,
brutalism
huge
and
palaces and castles in medieval Europe. I mean, they were hell-bent. They were intentionally dehumanizing people.
on purpose.
Prisons, early hospitals, and so on. I mean, monasteries. I mean, every technology, I think, can be used to dehumanize people. And when we talk about competition, artificial intelligence is consuming power and water and so on. But the construction of cathedrals consumed
Oh,
huge resources, and in this sense,
and
competed with
human life
in
and
human
human life.
life. Yeah, and so
Yes. The pyramids
I
were
think
hundreds of
nothing is
years.
new with AI. I think all technologies tend to dehumanize, and all technologies compete with us for scarce resources. Architecture not accepted,
No,
including
no.
architecture,
Yes,
maybe
I
even
agree.
especially architecture, looking at history.
Maybe, I mean, architecture was our
I mean, the
first,
pyramids, think of the pyramids.
it was
Yeah.
our first technology.
Yeah, exactly. And immediately it went out of control. Immediately it started consuming human bodies, human resources,
Yep.
competing with people for millions of people died.
Yeah.
At this stage, not many people died with AI, but
And
millions of people died with architecture.
I have an interesting short film that talks about how much water the architecture, all the materials in architecture consume,
Of
and
course.
it consumes fresh water
Yes.
for to make steel, 200 gallons
Mhm.
per ton of steel. Concrete requires fresh water. So yes, this is a question that we should just be talking
I
about.
think this is the trajectory of all technologies. All technologies go out of control, and all technologies end up competing with us on scarce resources and killing many of us. By the way, my father was a construction manager, so
Mhm.
and he was almost an architect. I mean, like he was about to complete his studies. So
I hope he didn't die
he done, yeah.
in no in a pile of concrete or
No,
something.
he didn't. He didn't.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But he constructed many. He managed the construction of many of the biggest structures in Israel. So I've been privy. I've had intimate access to the process.
Mhm.
And when I see artificial intelligence, I think artificial intelligence is symbolic architecture. That's why we say computer architecture. I
Yeah.
think, I think,
Well, I mean, they co-opted our name. A
yeah.
lot of these tech guys call themselves architects.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm writing a nonfiction book at the moment, deconstructing the Tower of Data Babel,
Mm.
because
Interesting.
we don't understand, most people don't understand what's happening, what these words mean. And I've done a hybrid nonfiction fiction
Yeah.
book to do that, where an architect, a real architect, meets with an architect.
Interesting.
Uh, yeah, but
Anyhow,
they're very
we are
similar. The fields we are out of
we're out
time.
of time, so
But
it's time to say goodbye. I've enjoyed this conversation very much.
yes,
It was
well, if
unusual.
you would like to continue any
It
kind of
was
tech
unusual. Yes. I wish you success with your book, Bandwidth. Yeah.
bandwidth, yeah, thank
Hey.
you. Thank you so much for and thank you for showing up in the novel. Thank you for letting me have you be at my cocktail party.
Yeah,
As
I've been flattered, of course. Thank you.
you say some very, very important things in that cocktail party in the
Yeah.
middle of the book. Thank you again.
Thank you. Success with
Thank
your next books. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.